So last time we saw you, it didn't go your way. I know you're very analytical and about MMA. So when you went back, what were your kind of takeaways about the fight, and what do you think really went wrong?
Yeah, good question. One, congrats to Buckley on his win last weekend against Luque. He looked great. Dude's built like a cannon. It's crazy. So after the fight, my coach was like, "Morono, you looked flat. What happened? Like, why the kind of like lackluster performance?" So it took me a couple days to kind of sit and reflect. And I've never ever been one to make excuses. So I always try to figure out like why things happened and then make those adjustments. And I did change one thing in that fight. I remember when I got the matchup, I wasn't particularly excited. I like fighting the vets naturally, but knew it was going to be a tough opponent. And then it was at the Apex, and I just fought in a couple of crowds. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to make this one routine. I'm going to slide in and slide out. And turns out like fighting is anything but routine. And I realized why fighting is so important to me, and it's to experience that like emotion and fatigue and energy and everything. So I remember I dialed my rageometer down for that fight, and like my warm-up was kind of flat. The walk was not exciting. And then I was ready to scrap. Like I was as prepared as I could have been for the fight camp on that one. And just started kind of slow and never really found a rhythm. So I was actually really happy to get booked at the Apex again so I could dial that rageometer back up and really enjoy the walk and perform like I do. And doing that against Buckley was the wrong guy to do it against. I needed to get a little wild against him, and I tried to be like really tactical and really technical and calm. And that's just not really who I am. I've even made mistakes in the past of bringing too much pre-fight energy, and sometimes it would make my opponents, energy levels rise. But I would rather that than be lackluster. So I think just dialing like the energy and the mindset back up to where it normally was is what I needed to do. Like if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I feel like I had everything dialed in really well, and like just shifted my dial a little bit in that last fight, and didn't perform great because of that.
And that's interesting you say that, fighting shouldn't be routine, because that's kind of the opposite of what other fighters say. They want the exact same routine every day. They want everything lined up. Anything throws them off, it can kind of set them off. So how do you kind of make that assessment for yourself? Like, I don't want this to be like routine.
So I'm not particularly superstitious, but I'm a super scheduled person. Like even out of camp, I follow the same training regimen. And then on fight week, everything, I try to track my weight numbers and everything. But I'm talking like fight day. I don't want it to be like any other day. Like I want to experience all of the emotions that come with fighting. I actually had a fight years back in the UFC that I had lost. It was a big fight in Houston, very unfortunate, big favorite to win, lost it. And the next day I was like, why do I put myself through all of this? And like, obviously not fighting is never an option. So I had to figure out like, why do I do it? It's not for fame, it's not for the money. It's for the experience to fight. It's the nerves, it's the excitement, it's like the serene rage you get to feel in the octagon. So once I understood that, it allowed me to tap into it. And like what I try to do is weaponize any nerves, like any emotions, try to weaponize them. They're there to keep you alive and make you feel sharp. Back before the UFC, I had one fight against a pretty tough opponent, and it's the only time I felt nothing. I stomached all of the nerves. And I lost. I had no caution. I was throwing down crazy, got clipped by a punch, not great. I fought after that, and it was arguably my least impressive opponent, but I had been more nervous than ever before, and I absolutely annihilated the guy. And then I learned everything, all the chemicals your brain's producing in this high stress scenario exists to have us thrive in these combat settings. So then I learned to embrace those nerves and weaponize the emotions, and it's been a strong tool ever since.
And so you just said before that, you like fighting the veterans. Well, you got another one. Court McGee, what were you thinking when you got this matchup? And really, what do you expect when he gets in the octagon? Because, older veteran coming off a big surgery. Where do you really think he's at in his career?
I always anticipate my opponents to be at their absolute best. I always expect them to be bigger and stronger than they really are. So once we're tied up in the octagon, there's no new, expectations. But, he's got more fights than me. It's funny, there's, of everyone on the card, he's got the most UFC fights. I have the second most. I think that's cool. I think between the two of us, it's like 43 UFC fights, which is awesome. I was surprised to get that name and very happy to fight a vet. I remember watching him on The Ultimate Fighter, and I've watched pretty much all of his fights since. And he's a gamer. He's gone the distance with a lot of really high-level guys. And I'm expecting this fight to be gritty, and I do expect it to go all 3 rounds. So I'm looking to win every minute of this 15-minute fight.
And, besides your skills, what makes him beatable as a fighter? Without, giving too much of your game plan, just in general, what makes him beatable?
Man, honestly, he's got so much octagon time. That's a harder question to really analyze and answer than you'd think. But I've been giving this answer for the last 19 interviews, but like I'm always going to, look for the KO. We're going to grapple in this fight, of that I can guarantee. So like a KO is a gold medal, a submission's a silver medal, and a decision's a bronze medal. So I'm just looking to get that gold for sure.
And where are you at in your career, do you think? Because you've had so much experience, but still 33, so it's not like that 35 an older stat that they always throw out there. So where do you see yourself right now?
Really in the middle of it all. Court's 39. I'll be very grateful if I'm fighting in the UFC at 39. That would, be another 20 fights, which is awesome. So long as I can consistently win, I'll be fighting. My brother asks me all the time, he's like, how are you still, encouraged to train? I am more excited about training and fighting now than ever before. So, I'm going to do this until the wheels fall off, and I really do feel like I'm at the peak. If I could fight more in a year, I would. Usually it's like every 5 months we get booked. Like if you look at the welterweights, that's kind of the cycle. So, but that's why I take so many short notice fights, because if I can fight more, I would. I think I fought 3 times in a year for my maximum. I'd really like to make it 4 or even 5 in a year. That would be really cool.
You kind of just answered a little bit of this question, but just go a little bit more in depth. When you came into the UFC, you were young, hungry, I want to feed my family. Now you kind of have a way out, right? Like you coach, you have your gym. So has it been a little bit harder, just even a touch, to like get more motivated?
No. Oddly enough, the motivation is more now than ever. I never fought for any reason other than enjoying the fight. I know that may seem crazy, but the money now is awesome. I don't know how many contracts deep I am, but I'm super grateful for the UFC and the opportunities they've given me. And no, fighting is so much fun. I wake up, I go to sleep excited every day to train and teach. And when I'm not fighting, I have a roster of guys fighting out of my gym, amateurs and pros. We have jiu-jitsu tournaments and competitions like every weekend. It's a great time for martial arts. And again, I'll be as active as possible for as long as I can.
And so last question, the top of the division's a touch of a mess right now, right? You got like Bilal Muhammad's waiting, but there's reports that there was 3 fights offered to Edward that weren't Muhammad. Who should Edwards fight next, and how do you kind of want to see your division play out for the rest of the year?
It's a great question. Give Bilal the title shot. Edwards has done a good job as champ. I could see him defending his belt for some time, but Bilal's earned it. How many fights win streak is he on? I don't know, but the activity is always cool. I can't really think who's in the top 5 for welterweights. You got Leon and Bilal.
Shavkat's the main one. They're talking about Islam maybe comes up. Maybe Hamzat goes down. At least these were just some of the rumors.
Yeah, I like when guys stay in their weight classes and defend their belts. But yeah, Shavkat's an interesting guy. I know Jack Della Maddalena called him out. That'd be a fun fight to watch for a potential contender. But I'd say let Leon and Bilal fight, and then let the winner of Maddalena versus Shavkat, fight there for another belt. But it's cool. There was a big, heavy, wrestling influence for the champs for a while, with Woodley and Colby and Edwards, and now it's a bunch of well-rounded guys, but mostly strikers. And I think striker champions are the more fun champions to watch.
I know it's my last one, but I just remembered one more. I've heard in a lot of interviews of yours, you voice your respect for Jose Aldo. How cool is it to hear a legend like him is going to be coming back?
Yeah, man, Aldo's a beast. I got this artist. He's one of my purple belts at our gym, Frankie Cardona. He's known for painting murals all around Houston for the Rockets and Texans. And we have 6 MMA people on the wall at my gym, like myself and Ricky as a gift from him. Then I got DC and Habib and Valentina Shevchenko and GSP. But then on the striking side of our gym, I'm getting 6 other portraits, and Jose Aldo made the cut there. It's like Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, Buakaw, my old coach, Gerardo, may he rest in peace, love that man. And then we got Anderson Silva and Jose Aldo. So we're going to have Aldo looking over us when we're low-kicking each other. But yeah, he's the man. He's fighting Jonathan Martinez, who's got a great low-kick game himself. That's an interesting fight, but I'm looking forward. I'll definitely be watching that one. Like both dudes, but I'll definitely be rooting for Aldo.
And it's great to end the day with a little Buakaw shout-out. So thank you for that,
man.
And thanks for your time.
You got it. Thank you.
Hey, Alex, what's the plan for Sean Kennard?
You know what? Sean's a beast. he broke his hand, and like he made a post about it in his last fight. Still won. He was able to like kind of easily win that fight. In between rounds, we were like, you can beat him without it. Like we like made some mods and calls, and sure enough, he finds the finish. I don't know, fight once more. I think August was our mutual doctor's return date for him. Fight once more, maybe go contender series. I know the 85 division, you don't have to have that many fights and then get signed. You know, we'll see. I know Sean's 34 or 35, so he doesn't have too much time, but he's a beast. He just got promoted to black belt. I gave him his black belt in January. The broken hand stinks to deal with, but it happens. I actually broke my hand in the Buckley fight, but thankfully it didn't require surgery or anything, so I was healed up pretty quick. But great question, Top Gun, man, I love him. He's actually, I didn't realize this, my striking coach is behind us. He did it in a post, but Sean's fought, I think 7 or 8 times, AMI and pro combined. He's never lost a round. He's a beast. Great striking, great grappling. He was a SWAT team captain and a police officer, so he's been through some crazy scenarios, so he's got like a perfect mind for combat sports. But he's healing up now, gonna get back to training soon, and then he'll fight for Fury, get another win, ideally, and then go to contender is kind of my long plan for him.
And how bummed was Ricky Turcios having to, not fight at UFC Mexico?
So Ricky is one of the coolest guys ever. Again, Coach Matt, my striking coach, said, he's like, Ricky is the nicest guy ever, but in the cage, he's even meaner than I am. He's got such a good switch for MMA. So in Mexico City, we just finished our warm-up. I'm switching out of my sweaty warm-up clothes into my fight kit, and they let us know that Rosas isn't going to fight. And like I was like, is the fight 100% off? And they were like, it's 100% off. And I told Ricky, and Ricky was like meditating, about to make the walk. And he was cool. Now, granted, it was so out of our hands, for him. And Ricky's not one to like lose his cool or freak out, but he was like, all right, what are we going to do? And they're like, we'll rebook it soon. They tried to rebook it for the next week. We got our plane tickets. We signed the contract, but it still didn't work out. I'm not too sure what went down on Rosas' end. But Rick was cool. It was so funny. He was ready to go fight and win and then go eat some queso birria, which is a really unhealthy but awesome Mexican taco dish. But he never got to do it, and the fight never happened. So, he definitely got kind of caught in the wings there. But he's cool, man. He's staying in really good shape. He's like, every Tuesday I'm waiting for the call for a new matchup. So I know the UFC will do right by him. They hooked him up and told him they'd book him here pretty soon.